Earlier this week, ESPN anchor Todd Grisham tweeted his way into a tornado with this hot take. Check it out. As impressive as Ichiro's 3,000 hits are, his unwillingness to learn English after 15 years in America amazes me more. I mean, wow. Where do we even begin? Well, first and foremost, it's factually inaccurate. What amazes me is the face of a signature show on the worldwide leader of sports either A, didn't know, or B, didn't bother to check whether or not a first ballot Hall of Famer in the game that is America's pastime spoke any English. And it's not even a hidden secret. Ichiro's English capabilities have been documented many times in the past. Numerous articles have been written about it if you try to look it up. His English solid according to reporters that have covered him and according to teammates who have played along with him during his career. Remember an All-Star game, this was in Chicago a long time ago, don't remember the exact year. There was some MLB behind the scenes video and it was actually Ichiro going up to a teammate and rapping 50 Cent. Go shorty.
Go shorty. It's your birthday.
Problem number 2 with this statement, how does having a translator indicate an unwillingness to learn the language? I don't care if he's been here for 15 years or even 30 years. English is an extraordinarily difficult language to pick up and master. And add to that, Ichiro came here when he was 27, 28 years old. That is an incredibly late age to be learning a new language, especially when you're busy, grinding away, trying to win MVP and leading the league in hitting. There was an article written in 2011 about why Ichiro has a translator, even though most people kind of agreed he could get by without one. Well, Ichiro said he has a tough enough time getting his points across in Japanese. And being as high profile and as covered as he was, he wanted to make sure nothing got lost in translation. It's clear by reading his interviews, Ichiro is a philosophical guy. He's a deep thinker, he's eloquent, he makes interesting points, and rather than give you the ho-hum generic answers that so many athletes do, he wants to get his message across, and the best way to do that is with the help of a translator. As journalists, shouldn't we appreciate that? Isn't it our job to deliver the truth as clearly and as accurately as possible? For example, Ichiro had a comment a couple weeks ago to ESPN about what Pete Rose had to say about being passed in the hits list. Ichiro saying at one point years ago, Pete Rose was supportive of it, and nowadays, well, not so much. Here's the exact quote. In America, when people feel like a person is below them, not just in numbers, they will kind of talk you up. But then when you get up to the same level or maybe even higher, they get in attack mode. They are maybe not as supportive. Now, I found that to be a fascinating response, true as well, not only in the world of sports, but in perhaps your workplace as well. Now, do you really think Ichiro could have delivered that nuanced answer in English? Probably not. So would you rather get the first answer translated to Japanese or some ho-hum generic answer in whatever English you could have muddled up? Now, later in the day, he issued a few mea culpas, but I'm not sure he actually gets the larger point. He apologized for not realizing Ichiro spoke English. I'm not sure what the quotes around fluent was supposed to mean, but he said his tone made it worse. And I don't think it was so much the tone as the suggestion in that tweet that if he didn't speak English or attempt to learn to speak English, that in some way made him a lesser person. Why? Why does it matter if he speaks any English? He's not here trying to pass a citizenship test. Here's the question. Would Ichiro Suzuki be a less productive member of society if he did not speak any English at all? No! He's here to play baseball, and he's carved out a Hall of Fame career straight to Cooperstown. My only question is he going to pull an Amari Stoudemire and retire a Yankee? I've heard the argument, if you're going to be paid millions of dollars, you should speak the language. Once again, why? Some Chinese guy just bought Aston Villa a couple years ago. I mean, how do you think it would go over if he went to his ball club, his soccer team, and said, guys, I need you to carve out 2 hours from your day to learn Mandarin Chinese so I can better market you to my people? That would be crazy. And contrary to popular belief, English is not America's official language. We don't have one. It is not in the Constitution. In fact, the evidence points to the framers rejecting language laws because they perceived it to be a threat to civil liberties. Just like freedom of religion, they believed in a democracy, the government has no power and no business to tell its people how they should talk. And in the past, lobbyists have actually tried to argue for English language amendments by discouraging bilingualism as if it was somehow a bad thing. And if you look at the history of our country, language has actually been used as a tool for cultural repression. The notion of we're in America, we have to speak English, That's a sentiment that actually led to some states outright banning foreign language classes in some grade schools. And of course, that would never fly nowadays. That ended up being struck down by the Supreme Court. Back to the larger point, why do we have to care if he speaks English? They don't do this in other countries, do they? Let's say the shoe's on the other foot. An American athlete goes to a communist country, earns millions of dollars playing a sport, selling his shoes. 中国 actually means Middle Kingdom, center of the world. After a while, the Chinese press must demand that Stephon Marbury start giving some interviews in Chinese, right?
我的最后一个问题呢是关于马布里的外号的。You have a nickname back in NBA.
Wow, they just said forget the translator, we'll just do it in his native tongue. But the fans have to feel differently. Stephon Marbury is a permanent resident of our country, taking in our money. He must speak Chinese. We demand that. Wow, what a coincidence. I think their chant, literally in English, translates to "Y'all gonna learn Chinese." And here's why that chant was such a beautiful moment. The Chinese Basketball Association actually has some twisted rules that prevented Stephon Marbury from winning MVP because he's a foreigner. So the fans are essentially saying, forget those rules.
You the real MVP.
What we have here, a man who left America considered somewhat washed up and off the rails a little bit, is welcomed with open arms into a communist country with well-documented human rights issues and becomes so ingrained as a sports hero, they actually erect a statue of him. That sounds like an American story, doesn't it?
I'm truly blessed for the people of China, people of Beijing, to feel the way how they feel about me.
How many people do you think were sitting in their homes in China saying, 讨厌这个 Marbury 在北京住6年还不会学说中国话? I don't know for 100% fact, but I'm pretty sure that number is about the same number of people who thought Suicide Squad was a great movie. Zero. Margot Robbie, though. Margot Robbie. Woo-hoo. So I had to get dressed up because I kind of got sidetracked and I'm not going to be able to finish this before I have to be at work. So let's finish this on the way to work. Let's go.
Now, for argument's sake, let's just say Ichiro Suzuki doesn't speak any English at all. Should he learn it? Now, that's a different question entirely. Certainly there's, benefits to it. People have brought up David Ortiz, Pedro Martinez. Their command of the English language helped enhance their stature in the game. Key difference, Big Papi and Pedro Martinez came here as teenagers, pretty much, right out of high school or high school age. They were playing in the minor leagues where there was very little, if any, media attention, I assume. Ichiro Suzuki's case, he came here a decade later in life as possible already right off the bat, the face of the franchise in a top 15 media market. But here's the bottom line. People who come to this country will assimilate in their own ways to a certain extent. Most will learn English because it is in their best interest to do so. Not because Todd Grisham or anyone else tells them they have to or that they should because they're in America. I didn't really want to go there and say, well, hey, how many languages do you speak? But fortunately, someone else did. And here is his response to that. Ironically, I took Japanese in college and actually appeared on a Japanese television show. Not kidding. What? That totally screams, I had to fulfill a requirement to graduate college. I'm at work, gotta go, so please comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. Hope to bring you something chippier later this week. There's an Olympian, a female gymnast, who promised me a number of years ago she would let me borrow her gold medal if she ever won one. We're gonna take a trip down memory lane with Simone Biles later this week. But for now, thanks for watching, everybody. Peace.